Well, I'm going to read this from the beginning again because I realized I was muted. Norwood was leaving his favourite pub in Camlorn, the Brecon Branch, when he heard someone calling his name. It was not the sort of a name that could be mistaken for another. He turned and saw Lord Errol, the royal battle mage from the palace, emerge from the darkness of the alley. "Lord," said Norbuth with a pleasant smile. "I'm surprised to see you out this evening, Norbuth," grinned Lord Errol with a most unpleasant smile. "I've not seen you and your master very much since the millennial celebration, but I understand you've been very busy. What I've been wondering is what you've been busy doing." "Protecting the imperial interest in Caroline is busy work, my lord. But I cannot imagine you would be interested in the minutiae of the ambassador's appointments." "Oh, but I am," said the battle mage, especially as the ambassador has begun acting most mysteriously, most undiplomatically lately. I understand he's taken one of the halls from the Flower Festival into his house. I believe her name is Gina." Norbert shrugged. "He's in love, I would imagine, my lord. He can make men act very strangely, as I'm sure you've heard before." "She's a most comely wench," laughed Lord Errol. "I've noticed how much she resembles the late Princess Talara. I've only been in Canlord for 15 years, my lord. I never saw her late majesty." Now I could understand if he had taken to writing poetry, but what man in love spends his days in the kitchens of the palace, talking to odd servants? The house sounds like molten passion to me, based on my limited experience. Lord Errol rolled his eyes. "What is this business? This is now in, what is the name of that village?" "Umbington," replied Norbert. Immediately wished he hadn't. Lord Errol was too canny an actor to reveal it, but Norbert knew at the pit of his stomach that the battle mage did not even know Lord Straley had left the capital. He had to get away and let the ambassador know, but there was still a game to be carefully played. "He's not leaving further until tomorrow. I believe it's just to put a stamp on something that needs the imperial seal." "Oh, is that all? How tedious for the poor fellow. I suppose I'll see him when he returns then." Lord Errol bowed. "Thank you for being so informative. Farewell." The moment the royal battle mage turned the corner, Norbert leapt onto his horse. He had drunk one or two ales too many, but he knew he must find his way to Umbington before Lord Errol's agents did. He galloped east of the capital, hoping there were signs on the road. Seated in a tavern that smelled of mildew and sour beer, Lord Straley marvelled at how the Emperor's agent, Lady Brissiana, always found the most public of places for the most private of conferences. It was harvest time in Umbington, and all of the field hands were drinking away their meagre wages in the noisiest of fashions. He was dressed appropriately for the venue, rough trousers and a simple peasant's vest, but he still felt conspicuous. In comparison to his two female companions, he certainly was. The woman to his right was used to frequenting the low places of Darrowford as a common prostitute. Lady Brissiana, to his left, was even more clearly in her element. "But what name would you prefer I call you?" Lady Brissiana asked solicitously. "I'm used to the name Gina, though I may have to change," was her reply. "Of course I may not. Gina the whore may be the name writ to my grave." "I will see to it that there is no attempt on your life like that at the Flower Festival," Lord Straley frowned. "Without the Emperor's help, I won't be able to protect you forever. The only permanent solution is to capture those who would do you harm, and then to raise you to your proper station. Do you believe my story?" Gina turned to Lady Brissiana. "I've been the Emperor's chief agent in High Rock for many years now, and I've heard few stranger tales. If your friend the ambassador had investigated and discovered what he has, I would have dismissed you outright as a madwoman." Brissiana laughed, forcing a smile to Gina's face to match. "But now, yes, I do believe you. Perhaps that makes me the mad woman." "Hi, Bon." "Will you help us?" asked Lord Straley simply. "It's a tricky business interfering in the affairs of the provincial kingdoms." Lady Brissiana looked into the depths of her mouth thoughtfully. "Unless there is a threat to the empire itself, we find it is best not to meddle. We have in your case a very messy assassination that happened 20 years ago, and its aftermath. If His Imperial Majesty involved itself in a bloody hiccup in the succession in each of his 1,000 vassal kingdoms, he would never accomplish anything for the greater good of Tamriel." "I understand," murmured Gina. "But I remembered everything, who I was and what happened to me. I resolved to do nothing about it. In fact, I was leaving Cameron and going back home to Daggerford when I saw Lord Straley again. He was the one who began discussing all this, not me. When he brought me back, I only wanted to see my cousin to tell her who I was, but he forbade me. It would have been too dangerous," growled Straley. "We still don't know yet the depths of the conspiracy. Perhaps we never will." "I'm sorry, I always find myself leaving alone explanations to solve questions. Lord Straley asked if I would help. I should have begun by saying yes." Lady Briseana laughed at the change in Lord Strally and Gina's expressions. I will help you, of course, but for this to turn out well, you must first accomplish 2 things for the Emperor's satisfaction. First, you must prove with absolute certainty who has the power behind the spot you've uncovered. You must get someone to confess. And secondly, said Strally, nodding, must prove that this is a matter worthy of His Imperial Majesty's consideration, not merely a minor local concern. Lord Strally, Lady Briseana, and the woman who called herself Gina discussed how to accomplish their goals for a few hours more. When it was agreed what had to be done, Lady Briseana took her leave to find her ally Prosecus. Strally and Gina set off to the west, toward Camlorn. So long after beginning the ride of the woods that they heard the sound of galloping hoofs beats far up ahead. Lord Strally unseated the sword and signalled for Gina to position her horse behind him. At the moment they were attacked on all sides. It was an ambush. 8 men, armed with axes, had been lying in wait. Lord Strally quickly yanked Gina from her horse, pulling her behind him. In a brief, deft motion with his hands, a ring of flame materialized around them and rushed outwards, striking the assailants. They ran roaring in pain and dropped to their knees. Lord Strally jumped the horse over the closest one and galloped full speed westward. I thought you were a bastard, not a mage, laughed Gina. I believe there are times for diplomacy, replied Lord Strally. The horse and rider they had heard met them on the road. It was Norbuth. Lord, it's the Royal Battle Mage. He found out you two were at Lumpington. It's considered easy, I might add. Lord Errol's voice boomed out of the woods. Norbuth, Gina, and Lord Strally scanned the dark trees, but they showed nothing. The battle mage's voice seemed to emanate from everywhere and nowhere. I'm sorry, my lord, groaned Norbuth. I tried to warn you as best I could. In your next life, perhaps you'll remember not to trust your plans to a drunkard, laughed Lord Errol. He had them in his sight, and the spell was unleashed. Norwood saw him first, by the ball of fire leaped from his fingertips. Later, Lord Errol was to wonder himself what the fool had planned to do. Perhaps he was rushing towards the bull Lord Strally out of the path. Perhaps he was trying to flee a path of destruction, and had simply moved left when he should have moved right. Perhaps, as unlikely as it seemed, he was willing to sacrifice himself to save his master. Whether the reason, the result was the same. He got in the way. There was an explosion everywhere that filled the night, and an echoing boom that shook birds from the trees a mile around. On a few square feet where Norbuth's horse had stood was nothing but black glass, reduced to rest and vapor. Gina and Lord Strally were thrown back. Their horse would recover its senses, galloped as fast as it could. In the aura of the spell's attention, Lord Strally looked straight in the woods and into the wide eyes of the battle mage. Damn! Said Lord Errol and began to run. The ambassador jumped on its feet in pursuit. That was expensive use of magica, even for you, said Lord Strally as he ran. Did you know well enough and use range spells and you're certain your target would be blocked? I never thought that, idiot! Lord Errol struck from behind and knocked to what force Lord had a chance to pronounce lamentation. Doesn't matter what you thought, said Lord Strally calmly, brought the battle mage round and pinning his arms to the ground with his knees. I'm not a battle mage, but I knew enough not to use my entire self in the ambush. Perhaps it's a matter of philosophy, as a governor agent. Full inclined against conservatism. What are you going to do? Whimpered Lord Errol. Norbuth was a good man, or the best, so I'm going to hurt you quite a lot. The ambassador made a slight movement as his hands began to glow brightly. That's a certainty, but I'm going to hurt you afterward. Depends on what you tell me. I want to hear about the former Duke of Orloin. What do you want to know? Lord Errol screamed. Let's start with everything, replied Lord Strally with perfect patience. Surf to Lara, Volume 3. Ooh, I need to find more of these. Maybe I have some myself. Mystery of Talara. I would like to find these books. Mystery of Talara. It's not Morrowind. I want it to be the Oblivion. There's 5 parts to this book. Yeah, but I would like to know books. Wait, author. It'd be better if I do it by author. Then all the books run the same. Why is it? Mr. Delata. Ted Peterson. I'd like to know where to find these. See, Mr. Delata Volume 5, but I have Volume 3. Oh, wait. It's because Volume 5 doesn't give you any skills. But the others do, don't they? Yeah, because if I recall correctly, Delata Volume 3 gave me, I think it was... Yeah. Mr. Delata Volume 3, Destruction. Chad, can I get chat? Question. I have a question for you, Chad. Chad, do I get the all the volumes and I read the entirety story of the Mystery of Delata? Do I do it? Do I just do it? Fuck it, I'll do it. Okay, so let's start. We will, of course, you know, skip volume 3. So it's player.add item. And then start with volume 4 because it's the first one I saw. 0002440A1. Thank you. Can I please? Thank you. All right. There's volume 2. Which is 24540-1. So that's volume 2. I'm missing volume 1 and volume 5, I think. So where's volume 1? It's at volume 3. Mr. Delata volume 1. Mr. Delata volume 1. Acrobatics. I mean, I found random loot. Okay. Right. So this is 243CE. That means I have volumes 2, 4. I'm missing volume 5, which is a normal book. That's why I was here. Alright, so with M, so let's... Okay. Oh, Talara volume 5. 5801. Alright, let's read the entirety of the Mystery of Talara. Why? I think I'm going to read a story. So, we've read volume 3. We have volume 1s, 2, 4, and 5. Let me really quickly get all the points. Alright. The Mystery of Princess Talara, Part 1, by Merlikith. The year was the 405th of the Third Era. The occasion was the millennial celebration of the founding of the Breton kingdom of Camlorn. Every grand boulevard and narrow alley was strung with gold and purple banners, some plain, some marked with the heraldic symbols of the royal family or the various principalities and dukedoms which were vassals of the king. Musicians played in the plazas, great and small, and every street corner was a new exotic entertainer. Regard snake charmers, Kashiti acrobats, magicians magicians of genuine power, and those whose flamboyant skill was equally impressive, if largely illusion. The sight that drew most of the male citizens of Camlor was the March of Beauty. 1,000 comely young women, brightly and provocatively dressed, danced their way down the long, wide main street of the city, from the temple of Sethiat to the royal palace. The menfolk jostled one another and craned their necks, picking their favourites, and those sick of their old prostitutes. At the march and the flower festival that evening, they would be available for more intimate business. Gina attracted much of the attention with her tall, curvaceous figure, barely covered by strips of silk, and her curves of flaxen hair specked with flower petals. In her late 20s, she wasn't the youngest of the prostitutes, but she was certainly one of the most desirable. It was clear by her demeanour that she was used to the suspicious glances, though she was far from jaded at the sight of the city in splendour. Compared to the squalid quarter of Daggerfall, which made her home, Conlon, at the height of celebration, seemed so unreal. And yet, what was even stranger was how, at the same time, familiar it all looked, though she had never been there before. The king's daughter, Lady Julia, were out of the palace gates and merely cursed the misfortune. She had completely forgot about the March of Beauty. The streets were snarled at a standstill. It would take hours to wait for a march to pass, and she had promised her nurse Remke a visit in her house south of the city. Julia thought for a moment, picturing in her mind the arrangement of streets in the city, and devised a shortcut to avoid the main street and the march. For a few minutes she felt very clever. She wound her way through tight, curving side streets, but presently she came upon temporary structures, tents and theatres that, for the celebration, had to improvise a new path. In no time at all, she was lost in the city, where she was left with but... In no time at all, she was lost in the city, where she had lived all but 5 years of her life. Peering down an alley, she saw the main avenue crowded with a March of Beauty. When it was the tail end, and the series not to be lost again, Lady Julia gathered her horse towards the festival. She did not see the snake charmer at the mouth of the alley. When its pet head spread its hood, her charge reared in fear. The woman in the parade gasped and searched back at the sight, but Lady Julia quickly calmed the stallion down. She looked abashed at the spectacle and had caused. "My apologies, ladies," she said with a mock military salute. "It's all right, madam," said a blonde Witzik. "Breath of your way in a moment." They started the march past her. Looking at that whore had been like looking in a mirror. Same age and height and hair and eyes. Figure, almost exactly. The woman looked back to her, and it seemed she was thinking the same thing. So Gina was. Though witches who sometimes came to Daggerfall and sometimes spoke of doppelgangers, spirits that assumed the guide of their victims and pretended certain death. The experience had not frightened her. It seemed only one more strange and unreal aspect of the alien city. Before the march had danced its way into the palace gates, she had all but forgotten the encounter. The prostitutes crushed into the courtyard as the king himself came to the balcony to greet them. At his side was his chief bodyguard, a battle mage by the look of him. For the king himself was a handsome man of middle age. "Thank you, Ryan." Rather remarkable, but Gina was awed at the sight of him. A dream, perhaps. Yeah, that was it. She could see him as she had dreamt of him, high above as he was now, bending now to kiss her. Not a one of lust as she had experienced before, but of a small fondness, a dutiful kiss. "Dear ladies, you have filled the streets of the great capital of Camlord with your beauty," cried the king, forcing a silence of the giggling, murmuring assembly. He smiled proudly. His eyes met Gina, and he stopped, shaken. For an eternity they stayed locked together before His Highness recovered and continued his speech. Afterward, while the women were all en route back to their tents to change into their costumes for the evening, one of the older prostitutes approached Gina. "Oh, did you see how the king looked at you? If you're smart, you'll be the new royal mistress before this celebration ends." I've seen looks of hunger before, and that wasn't one of them," laughed Gina. "I really thought I was someone else, like that lady who tried to run us over with her horse. She's a pretty skin, and he thought she had dressed up like a courtesan and enjoyed the March of Beauty. Can't you imagine the scandal?" They arrived at the tents. They were greeted by a stocky, well-dressed young man with a bald pate and a commanding presence of authority. He introduced himself as Lostrade, ambassador to the Emperor himself, and their chief patron. It was Strail who had hired them on the Emperor's behalf as a gift to the king and the kingdom of Camlord. "The March of Beauty is but the precursor of the flower festival tonight," he said. Unlike the king, he did not have the yell to be heard. His voice was loud and precise in its natural modulations. I expect each of you to perform well and justify the significant expense I've suffered bringing you all the way up here. Now hurry, you must be dressed and in position for Cabin Steel Rock before the sun goes down. The ambassador didn't have a word. We're all professionals, experts at getting dressed and undressed within other time-consuming measures, thus promiscuous females required. His manservant Norbooth offered his assistance, but found he had little to do. Constance were simplicity itself. Soft, narrow sheets with a hole for their heads. Not even a belt was required, so the gowns were open at the sides, exposing the frame of their skin. So it was long before the sun had set that the prostitutes... Boy! Alright, BRB. I'll continue reading once I'm back. sorry. I was in the middle of reading, and I would like to continue doing so. Expressing... This was long before the sun had set that the prostitutes turned dancers were at the Cabalsteer Rock. It was a grave, wide promontory facing the sea. For the occasion of the Festival of Flower, a large circle of unlit torches and covered baskets had been arranged. There's a little bit of noise, but... Alright, great. Surely as they were, the crowd of spectators had already arrived. The women gathered in the center of the circle and waited until it was time. Gina watched the crowd as it grew and was not surprised when she saw the lady from the march approaching, hand in hand with a very old, very short, white-haired woman. The woman was distracted, pointing out islands out at sea. The blonde lady seemed nervous, unsure what to say. Gina was used to dealing with an easy client that spoke first. "Good to see you again, madam. I'm Gina of Daggerfall. I'm glad you bear me no ill because of the horse. Horse. I'm glad you bear me no ill because of the horse. A horse." The lady laughed, somewhat relieved. "I am Lady Julia Reyes, daughter of the king." "I thought the daughters of kings were called princes." "In Gamelon, only we are heirs to the throne. I have a younger brother from my father's new wife, whom he favors," Julia replied. She held her head swim, as manners, speaking to common prostitute, talking to family politics intimately. "What if that subject, I must ask you something very peculiar. Have you heard of the Princess Delara?" Gina thought for a moment. The name sounded somewhat familiar. Gina thought for a moment. "The name sounds somewhat familiar. Why would I have?" "I just don't know. What's the name I just thought you might recognize?" sighed Lady Julia. "Have you heard of Camelot before?" "If I did, it was when I was very young," said Gina. And suddenly, she felt it was her turn to be trusting. Something about the Lady Julia's friendly and forthcoming manner touched her. "To be honest, I don't remember anything at all of my childhood before I was 9 or 10. Perhaps I was here with my parents, whoever they were, when I was a little girl. I tell you, I think perhaps I was. I don't recall being here before, but I think I've seen. The city, you, the king himself, all seem like having here before, long ago." Julia gasped and took a step back. She gripped the old woman, who had been looking on the sea, murmuring, by the hand. The creature looked at Julia, surprised, and then turned to Gina. Her ancient, half-blind eyes sparkled with recognition, and she made a sound like a grunt of surprise. Gina also jumped. If the game had seemed like something out of a half-forgotten dream, this one was someone she knew, as clear and yet indistinct as a garden spirit. "I apologize," stammered Lady Julia. "This is my child nursemaid, Ramka." "It is!" the old woman cried, wild-eyed. She tried to run forward and outstretched, but Julia heard her back. Gina felt strangely naked and pulled the robe against her body. "No, you're wrong," Lady Julia whispered to Ramka, holding her old woman tightly. "Princess Delara is dead, you know that. I don't know if I've brought you here. I'll take you back home." She turned back to Gina, her eyes swelling with tears. "The entire royal family of Camelot was assassinated 20 years ago. My father was Duke of Aloyne, the king's brother, and so he inherited the crown. I'm sorry I've bothered you. Good night." Gina gazed after Lady Julia and the old nurse as they disappeared into the crowd, but she had little time to consider all that she had heard. The sun was setting, and it was time for the flower festival. 12 young men emerged from darkness, wearing only loincloths and masks, and lit the torches. The moment the fire blazed, Gina and all the rest of the dancers rushed to the baskets, pulling out blossoms and vines by the handful. At first, the women danced with one another, sprinkling petals to the wind. The crowd then joined in as the music swelled. It was a mad, beautiful chaos. Gina leapt and swooned like a wild forest nymph. Then, without warning, she felt rough hands grip from her hand pressure. She was falling before she understood it. The moment the realization hit, she was close to the bottom of the 100-foot tall cliff. Then she was at the top. She flailed out her arms and grasped at the cliff wall. Her fingers raked against the stone and her flesh tore, but she found a grip and held it. For a moment, she stayed there, breathing hard. Then she began to scream. The music at the festival would chill out up above. No one could hear her. She could scarcely hear herself. Below her, the surf crashed. Every bone in her body would snap as she fell. She closed her eyes, and a vision came. A man was standing below her, a king of great wisdom, great compassion, looking up, smiling. A little girl, golden hair, mischievous, best friend and cousin, clung to the rock beside her.
The secret of falling is making your body go limp, and with luck, you won't get hurt,
the girl said. She nodded, remembering who she was. 8 years of darkness lifted. She released her grip and let herself fall like a leaf to the water below. Bye! Bye, so annoying. I'm going to take a shower when it's 8 p.m. Not now. For fuck's sake. She felt nothing. Darkness enveloping her body and mind. Pain surged through her leg, and with that sensation, a great feeling of cold washed over her. She opened her eyes and noticed that she was drowning. Her left leg would not move at all, but using her right one and her arms, she pulled herself up toward the moons above. It was a long way through the swirling currents that wrenched back to her. At last, she broke the surface and sucked in the cold night air. She was still close to the rocky shoreline of the capital city of the kingdom of Carmlorn, but the water had carried her quite a ways from the point where she fell at Cavill Steer Rock. Not fell, she thought, correcting herself. She had been pushed. Rather than occurring, she allowed herself to drift. There, the steep cliff walls sloped lower until they were close to the water's edge. The silhouette of a large house on the shore loomed ahead, and as she neared it, she could see smoke rising from the chimney and the flicker of firelight within. The bathing light was great, but greater was the chill of the water. The thought of a warm hearth fire was all the motivation needed to begin swimming again. At the shore's edge, she tried to stand, but found she couldn't. Her tears mixed with the seawater as she began to crawl up across the sand and rock. The simple white sheet which had been her costume at the flower festival was tattered and felt like a weight of lead across her back. Beyond the point of exhaustion, she fell forward and began to sob. "Please!" she cried. "If you can hear me, please help!" A moment later, the door to the house opened and a woman stepped out. It was Veronica, the old lady she had met at the flower festival. The one who had startled and cried "It's her," even before she herself knew who she was. Big contrast. When the old woman came to her this time, there was no glimmer of recognition in her eyes. "By Sathiat, are you hurt?" Veronica whispered and helped her up, acting as her crutch. "I've seen that gown before. Were you one of the dancers of the flower festival tonight? I was there with Lady Julia, the daughter of the king." "I know, she introduced us," she groaned. "I call myself Gina of Daggerfall." Of course, I knew you looked familiar somehow. The old woman chuckled and let her hop by hop across the beach and into the front door. My memory isn't as good as it used to be. Let's get you warm and have a look at that leg. Rum get Gina's soaking rags and covered her with a blanket as she sat at the fire. As the numbness of the chill water began to leave her and cruelly abandoned her to the intense agony of her leg. Until then, she had not dared to look at it. When she did, she felt vomit rise at the sight of her deep gash. Fish white, dead flesh, plump and swollen, thick arterial blood bubbled up, splashing off the floor in streams. Oh dear, said the old woman, returning to the fire. That must rather sting. You're lucky that I still remember a little of the old healing spells. Rumkid seated herself on the floor and pressed her hands on her side of the wound. Gina felt a flare of pain, and then a cool, soft pinching and prickle. She looked down. Rumkid was slowly sliding her wrinkled hands towards one another. As they approached, the lesion began to mend before her eyes, flesh binding and bruises fading. Sweet Kenneth, Gina gasped. You've saved my life. Not only that, you won't have an ugly scar on your pretty leg, Rumka chuckled. I had to use that spell so many times when Lady Julia was little. You know, I was her nursemaid. I know. But that was a long time ago. You still remember that spell? Oh, when you're learning anything, even the school of restoration, there's always a lot of study mistakes. But once you're as old as I am, there's no longer any need to remember things. You just know. After all, I've probably cast her 1,000 times before. Lady Little Julia and the little Princess Talara was always getting cut and bruised. Small wonder the way it was always climbing all over the places. Ian sighed. You must have loved the Lady Julia very much. I still do, Ramke beamed. But now she's all grown and things are different. You know, I didn't notice it before we were all wet from the sea. But you look very much like my lady. Did I mention that before we went at the festival? You did, said Gina. Or rather, I think you thought I looked like Princess Talara. Oh, it would have been so wonderful if you were the princess returned, the old woman gasped. You know, when the former royal family was killed, and everyone said princess was killed, though we never found the body, I think the real victim was Lady Julia. A little heart just broke. For a while, it looked like her mind did too. What do you mean? Asked Gina. What happened? I don't know. If I should tell a stranger this, but it's very well known in Canada. I really feel like I know you. Mink struggled with conscience and then least. Julia saw the assassination, you see. I found her afterwards, and in a terrible blood-stained throne room. She was like little broken doll. She wouldn't speak. She wouldn't eat. Did all my healing spells, but it's quite beyond my power. So much more than a scraped knee. Her father, who was the Duke of Aloyne, sent her to a sanitarium in the country to get well. Oh, that poor little girl, cried Gina. It took her years to be herself again, said Ramka, nodding. And in truth, she never really returned altogether. You wonder why her father, when he was made king, didn't make her his heir? He thought that she was still not exactly right. In a way, as much as I would deny it, he is correct to think so. She remembered nothing. Nothing at all. Do you think, Gina, said her horse carefully, she would be better if she knew that her cousin, the Princess Anne, was alive and well? Bram considered it. I think so, but maybe not. Sometimes it's bad not to cope. Gina stood up, put her leg to be strong as she looked to be. Her gown had dried, and Ramke gave her a cloak, insisting she protect herself against the cold air tonight. At the door, Gina kissed the old woman's cheek and thanked her, not only for the healing spell and for the cloak, but for everything else of kindness she had ever done. The road close to the house went north and south. To the left was the way back to Camborne, where a secret slate to which she alone had the key. To the south was Daggerfall, her home for more than 20 years. She could return there, back to her profession in the streets, very easily. For a few seconds, she considered her options, and then made her choice. She had not been walking for very long when a black carriage drawn by 3 horses bearing the imperial seal, together with 8 mounted horses, passed her. But around it, the wooded pass ahead, it stopped suddenly. She recognized it was not the sword of Sir Norbuth, Lord Strahl's manservant. The door opened, and Lord Strahl himself, the Empress Ambassador, the men to hire her, and all the other women to entertain at court, stepped out. You! He frowned. You're one of the prostitutes, aren't you? You're the one who disappeared during the flower festival. Gina, am I right? Well, that is true, She smiled slowly. It's my name. I've discovered it's not Gina. I don't care what it is, said Lord Stradley. What are you doing on the road? For you to stay and make the kingdom merry. Fuck the camera, there are a great many who wouldn't be merry at all. Explain yourself, said Lord Stradley. So she did. And he listened. Then this all happened. Gina never saw the Emperor's agent, Lady Bristiana, again, but she kept her promise. Persecus, her name played in the service of the Empire, arrived at Lord Strauss' house in disguise. She was an apt pupil, and within days he had taught what she needed to know. It is a simple charm, the sort of spell that could turn a raging Daedrop into a love-struck puppy, said Persecus. If you do or say anything that would normally anger or offend your target, the power will be weakened. It will alter the body's perception of you. Spells of the school's illusion do, but his feelings of respect and admiration for you must be supported by means of a charm of a less magical nature. I understand, smiled Gina, thanking her tutor for the 2 spells of illusion he had taught her. The time had come to use a newfound skill. The prostitute's guild house of Camlord was a great palace in an affluent northern quarter of the city. Prince Silent could have found his way there blindfolded, or blind drunk, as he often was. Tonight, however, he was only light inebriated and resolved to drink no more. Tonight, he was in a mood of pleasure. His kind of pleasure. Where's my favourite Grigia? He demanded for the guild mistress upon entering. She's still healing from your appointment there last week, she smiled serenely. Most of the other women are in with clients as well, but I saved a special treat for you. A new girl. One you will certainly enjoy. The prince was guided to sumptuously decorated suite of velvet and silk. As he entered, Gina stepped from behind a screen and cast her spell quickly, with her mind open to belief as Prosicus had instructed. It was hard to tell if it worked at first. Prince looked at her with a cruel smile, and then, sun breaking through clouds, the cruelty left. He could tell it was hers. He asked her name. I'm between names right now, she teased. I've never made love to a real prince before. I've never even been inside a palace. Is yours very big? It's not mine yet, he shrugged. But someday I'll be king. It would be wonderful to visit a place, Gina cooed. 1,000 years of history, everything must be so old and beautiful. The paintings and books and statues and tapestries, the safari hole and all the old treasures. Yes, I'll hoard away with a lot of boring old junk, the archive rooms and the vaults. Please, may I see you naked now? First a little conversation, though you may feel free to throw up whenever you like, said Gina. I heard there was an archive room, but it's quite in a way. There's a false wall behind the family crypt, said the prince, gripping her wrist and pulling her towards him for a kiss. Soon his eyes had changed. Your Highness, you're hitting my arm. Enough talk, you bewitching whore, snarled, holding back a sharp jab of fear. Gina let her mind cool and perception swirl. His angry mouth touched her lips. Touch her lips. She cast the second spell she had learned the illusionist mentor. The prince felt his flesh turn to stone. He remained frozen, watching Gina pull together her clothing and leave the room. The process would only last for a few minutes, but it's all the time she needed. The guild mistress had already left with all the girls, just as Gina and Lord Strauss had told her to. They will tell her when it was safe to return. She had not even accepted any gold for her part in the trap. She said it was enough that her girls would not be tortured anymore by the most perverse and cruel prince. Terrible boy, thought Gina. She raised the hood of her cloak and raced through the streets towards Strauss' house. This guy will never be king. The following morning, the king and queen of Camlorn held their daily audience with various nobles and diplomats. A sparse gathering. Their throne room was largely empty. It was a terribly dull way to begin the day. In between petitions, they yawned regally. What has happened to all the interesting people? The queen murmured. Where's that precious boy? Everyone was raging through the north quarter in search of the harlot who robbed him. The king chuckled fondly. What a fine lad. What of the royal bottom-age? I sent her to take care of a delicate matter. The king knit his brow. That was nearly a week ago, and I haven't heard of one word from him. It is somewhat troubling. You did this? Lord Errol should not be gone for long. The queen frowned. What if a rogue sorcerer came and threatened us? Husband, don't laugh at me. This is why all the royal houses of High Rock keep their maids or retainers close to their side, to protect their court from evil enchantments like the one that our poor emperor suffered so recently. At the hands of his own battle mage, chuckled the king. Lord Errol will never betray you like that. You will know it. He has been in your employ since you were Duke of Loin. Don't make the comparison between he and Jagerthon. Really? The queen waved her hands dismissively. It's that sort of lack of trust that is ruining King Solomon Tamriel. Now Lord Strahd tells me. There's another man that's gone missing, mused the king. Oh, the ambassador? The queen shook her. No, he's here. He was the serious of Mr. Crips and begging too much to noble ancestors, so I directed him there. I can think what's keeping him so long. He must be more pious than I thought. She was surprised to tell the king the rest of the learn. Why didn't you tell me? She had a tense surprise. The subject of the conversation was coming through the open door of the throne room. And on his arm was a beautiful, fair-haired woman with a silly gown of scarlet and gold, worthy of the highest nobility. The queen, followed by her startled husband's gaze, was likewise amazed. I heard it was taken with one of the harlots from the flower festival. Not a lady, she whispered. Why, she looks remarkably just like your daughter, the Lady Julia. That she does, the king asked. Or her cousin, the Princess Talara. Nobles in the rooms also whispered amongst themselves. The few had been a court 20 years ago when the princess had disappeared, presumed murder like the rest of the royal family. There were still a few older statesmen who remembered. He was not only enthroned that the word Talara passed through the air like an enchantment. Lord Strahd, will you introduce us to... Lord Strahd, will you introduce us to your lady? Queen asked with a polite smile. In a moment, your highness, but I'm afraid I must first discuss pressing matters. My father, Lord Strahd replied with a bow. Might I request a private audience? The king looked at the imperial ambassador, trying to read into the man's expression. With a wave of his hand, he amidst the assembled... and had the door shut behind him. No one remained in the audience room but the queen, the king, the queen, the ambassador, royal dozen guards, a dozen royal guards, and the mysterious woman. The ambassador pulled from his pocket a sheaf of old yellow parchment. Your Highness, when you ascended the throne after your brother and his family were murdered, any that seem important deeds and wills were of course kept with the clerks and ministers. His entire incidental and important personal correspondence was sent to archive, which is standard for protocol. This letter was among them. What is this all about, sir? The king boomed. What does it say? Oh, nothing about you, your majesty. In truth, at the time of your majesty's accession, no one reading it could have understood its significance. It was a letter to the emperor, the late king, your brother, was penning at the time of his assassination, concerning a thief who had once been a mage priest at the temple of Sethin in Camlord. His name was Yagathorn. Yagathorn? Well, we were just talking about him. Thorn had stolen many books of powerful and forgotten spells and lore about which were such artifacts as the Staff of Chaos what was hidden, and how it could be used. News traveled slowly to westernmost High Rock. By the time the king of your brother had heard that the emperor's new battle mage was a man named Jagathor, many years had passed. The king ended writing a letter to warn the emperor of the treachery of his imperial battle mage, but it was never completed. Lord Strala held up the letter. It is dated on the day of his assassination, the real 385. 4 years before Jagathor betrayed his master, began the 10-year tyranny of the imperial simulacrum. This is all very interesting, the king barked. But what the hell has to do with me? The late king's assassination is now a matter of imperial concern, and I have a confession from your royal battle mage, Lord Errol. You accept him. The king's face lost all colour. You miserable worm. No man may threaten me. Neither you, nor that whore, nor the letter will receive the light of day again. Guards! The royal guards unsheathed their blades and pressed forward. As they did so, there was a sudden shimmering of light, and the room was filled with imperial night blades, laid by Pressicus. They had been there for hours, lurking invisibly in the shadows. In the name of His Imperial Majesty, Uriel Septim VII, I arrest you, said Strahler. The doors were opened, and the Queen and King were led out, heads bowed. Branyos? Yep, it is my birthday. Today is birthday. I'm 25 now. Kina told Pressicus where he would most likely find their son, Prince Silent. The courtiers and nobles who had been in the audience chambers stared at the strange, solemn procession of their king and queen to the royal prison. No one said a word. When at last the voice was heard, it started all. Lady Julia had arrived at the court. What's happening? Who dares to usurp the authority of the king and queen? Nostrad turned to Pressicus, who would speak with Lady Julia alone. You know what needs to be done. Pressicus nodded and had the doors of the throne closed again. The courtiers pressed against the wood, straining to hear everything. Though they could not say it, they wanted an explanation almost as much as their ladyship did. I am now reading a book for chat because, well, yeah, a book, and it's in 5 volumes. But what right do you arrest my father? Cried the Lady Julia. What has he done? I arrest the King of Camlorn, the former Duke of Aloin, by my right as an Imperial Commanding Officer and Ambassador, said Lord Strail, but the right of law of the Emperor of Tamriel, which supersedes all provincial royal authority. She came forward and tried to put her hand on Julia's arm, but she was coldly rebuffed. Quietly, she sat down at the foot of the throne in the now empty audience chamber. This young lady came to me, having completely recovered her memory, but the story she told was beyond incredible. I simply couldn't believe it, said Lord Strolly. But she was so convinced of it, I had to investigate. So I talked to everyone who was there at the palace 20 years ago to see if there could be any truth to it. Of course, at the time of the king and the queen's murder and the princess's disappearance, there was a full inquiry made, but I had different questions at this time. Questions about the relationship between the two little cousins, Lady Julia Reyes and the Princess Talara. I've told everyone over and over again. I don't remember anything at all about that time in my life, said Julia, tears welling up. I know you don't. There's never been a question in my mind that you witnessed a horrible murder, and that your memory lapse in hers. Said Lestrade, gesturing to Regina. Both very real. Sir heard from the servants and the other people of the palace was that the little girls were inseparably close. There were no other playmates, and as the princess's place was to be close to their parents, so the Lady Julia was always there as well. When the assassin came to murder the royal family, the king and queen were in the bedroom, and the girls were playing in the throne room. When my memory came back to me, it was like opening a sealed box, said Gina solemnly. Everything was so clear and detailed, like it was all happening yesterday, not 20 years ago. I was in the throne room, playing Empress, and we were hiding behind the dice, but then you were in a dungeon I had sent you to. A man I had never seen burst into the room from the royal bedchamber, his blade soaked in blood. He came for me and I ran for my life. When it was time to run for the dice, but I never saw your face, frozen in fear, but I saw your face, frozen in fear, and I didn't want him to lead to you, so I ran for the window. I'd climbed outside of the castle before, just for fun. Those ones are the first memories that came back to me when I was holding onto that cliff. You and I on the castle wall, and the king calling up to me, telling me how to get down. But that day, I couldn't hold on. I was trembling too much. I just fell and landed in the river. I don't know if it was entirely the horror of what I had seen, or that combined with the impact of the fall and the coldness of the water, but everything just went blank in my mind. When I finally pulled myself out of the river, many miles away, I knew how it was. And so I stayed. Nina smiled. Until now. So, you're the Princess Talara, cried Julia. Let me explain further before she answered that, because a simple answer would just confuse you, as it did me. The assassin was caught before he managed to escape the palace. In truth, he had to know he was going to get caught. He confessed immediately to the murders of the royal family. The princess, he said, he had thrown out of the window to her death. The servant back down below had heard the scream and saw something fly past his window, so he knew it to be true. It was not for several hours that the Lady Julia was found by her nursemaid Ramke hiding behind the dice, covered with dust, shivering in fear, and unable to speak at all. Ranka was very protective of you, Strahd said, not to Julia. She insisted on putting you to your room right away, and so wanted to go for line that the royal family was dead, and his daughter had witnessed the murder, but survived. I'm beginning to remember a little of that, said Julia wonderingly. I remember lying in bed where Ramke comforted me. I was so muddled and couldn't concentrate. I remember I just wanted it all to be playtime still. I don't know why. And then I remember being bundled up and taken to the asylum. It'll come back to you soon, Tina smiled. I promise that's how I began to remember. I just got one detail and then the whole flow began. That's it. Jill began to sob in frustration. I don't remember anything else except confusion. No. I still remember Daddy looking at me when I was taken away. I remember not caring about that or anything else. It was a confusing time for all, particularly for little girls, especially little girls who went through what you did, said Lord Strail sympathetically. From what I understand, as soon as he received the message from Branca, the Duke left his spells to Deloitte, gave orders for you to be sent to a private sanitarium to recover from your ordeal, and set to work with his private guard touching the assassin for information. When I heard that no one but the Duke and his personal guards was in session if the case in need of confession, and no one was present with the Duke and his guards, when the assassin was killed, trying to explain, I thought that very significant. I spoke with Leril, who I knew was one of those present, and I had to bluff him, pretending I had more evidence than I did. I got the reaction I was hoping for, though it was a dangerous gambit. At last he confessed to what I knew to be truth. The assassin, Lustral paused and looked and met Julia's eyes, had been hired by the Duke of Deloitte to kill the royal family, including the Princess of as heir, so that the crown might be passed to him and his children. Tears stared to the trail, aghast.
My father.
The assassin had been told that once the Duke had him in custody, he would be paid on a prison break would be arranged. That picked the wrong time to agree and take more gold. The Duke decided that it would be cheaper to silence him, so he murdered him then and there, and the man would never tell anyone what really happened. Lord still shrugged. No tragic loss as far as murder go. In a few years' time, he returned from the sanitarium, ready to shake it but back to normal, except for a complete absence of memory about your childhood. In that time, the former Duke of Deloitte had taken his brother's place as the king of Camblord. It was all a small maneuver.
No,
said Julia quietly.
He must have been very busy. He married and had another child. No one ever came to visit me in the sanitarium but Ramka.
If he had visited and seen you, said Gina, this story might have been turned out very differently.
What do you mean?
Asked Julia. This is the most amazing part, said Estrada. The question has long been whether Gina is the Princess Talara. When memory returned and she told me that she remembered, I put several pieces of evidence together. Consider these facts. The two of you look remarkably alike now after 20 years of living very different lives, and as little girls and constant playmates, you look nearly identical. At the time of the assassination, the murderer had never been there before, and the son got on the throne, who he assumed to be his quarry. The one who found Lady Julia was the nursemaid Ramika, a creature of unstable mind and fanatical devotion to her church. The type would never accept the possibility that the beloved little girl had been the one who disappeared. The nursery was the only single person who knew both Princess Lara and the Lady Julia who visited you while you were in the sanitarium. Finally, said Lestrade, consider the fact that when you returned to court from the sanitarium, 5 years had passed and you had grown from a child to a young lady. You look familiar, but not quite the same as your family remembered you, which is only natural.
I don't understand,
cried the poor girl, her eyes wide, because she didn't understand. Her mouth was falling together like a terrible flood. Let me explain like this, said her cousin, wrapping her in her arms. I know who I am now. My real name is Chila Reyes. The man who was arrested was my father, the one who murdered the king, your father. You are the Princess Talara. Goddamn. Okay, so Gina was Julia. Julia was the Princess Talara. It's fucking... what a fucking mess, dude. What the hell? Pretty good book. Pretty good book. Smell making. Right, paralysis as well? I do. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see how strong this is. I think this might be a evil people camp. Yes, it is. Wow. Holy shit, it is strong. Holy. The dog didn't even fucking stand a chance. I know how to use it. It's the door. Neat. Hello? Anyone? Okay, there's just not not a single soul in this place. Okay, that's cool. I'm out of here. 2 places to explore. I think I need to do... Let me go to Bruma. Where's this way? Oh, hey, a target. Are you like immune to ice? Maybe. It might just be. Oh, god damn it. Because, I mean, it froze. Dude froze, but... 5 seconds is so much fucking time, though. Holy shit. Okay, it's a goblin cave. Oh. No. Watch out. Yeah, no, they do damage. For some reason, these motherfuckers have so much health. I say no normal humanoids just die in one hit. Which is kind of funny. Okay. I'll open. Fuck right. Oh my god, I just hit him in the crotch. What a fucking... Hello. Whoa, that's a Daedalic sword. And that has an enchantment. I want that. Give me that. Give me that. Wait. Would this mean that's just a better... It's 22 damage. This is... What? 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 But... I wouldn't just use the... What? Hold on. Who the fuck? Hi! You guys been trying to figure out something. Wait, I think I understand now. Chad, I think I understand now. It does do more damage. Just that I didn't repair it, so it had the maximum damage it could do. Peekaboo. I think this is Crab. Oh yeah, Crab's dead. Yeah. Swift damage. Not a lot of health. I think this is technically my strongest destruction spell because it's 100 damage. Okay, kill, not one out. mission. Kill the other. Not one out. Kill the other. Actually. Oh, well, there goes whatever he had on him. I think he had a sword, like a Daedric one, too. See, this is the problem with... See, chat, this is the problem when you have, you kill something and its limbs clip out of bounds. I can assure you, it's gone. Like, it's gone. Like, this is floor immediately after it's out of bounds. So yeah, whatever that kobold had, it's gone. It's absolutely fucking gone. Oh, hi, rats. It's just extra funny to kill with this. Okay, please kill it. Thank you. It would be cool to have a rat pet. I'd get one. I'd get a rat pet. More gold and a lockpick. I don't even need lockpick. Am I... What level am I on? I think I might need to go back to the ship area and... Oh. I already killed this rat. Wait, what? Oh, I just went in a giant circle. Cool. Wait, what? Where? Where? Oh, over here? Nope. Over here? No, over here. Yeah, it is over here. And headshot. Holy damage. Fuck you. Stupid goblins. You make me look bad. My question is... Staff fell out of bounds. I love this game. Right? It did fall out of bounds. Nope, it's here. Survived Pikachu face. It actually survived the ragdolls. That rock right there is the thing that's giving me cover. It's hilarious to think about. Chat. Oop. Yeah. Freeze, bitch. Nope. I could have saved that staff, Chad. I could have. But I didn't. Now it's gone. Oh, well, I'm sure it wasn't that good of staff. Yeah, where the hell is your bow? There it is, elven bow. Bro was fucking blind. I was right on his face. Like, genuinely on his face. And bro did not see me. Ooh, where? these two. Don't turn around. Do not turn around. You hurt your friend. It takes them so fucking long to notice you. Axe is gone. Shield is here. I think the axe was a silver axe. Well, neat. It's just really funny for me to think about it. Also, whoever followed me, thank you. Freeze, bitch! I could not save that. There's a lot of regular warring, apparently induced with, fucking paralysis spells. Hey, he died sleeping. God, this game's so fucking stupid. I love it. This should not be working. I hope you all know this. But it is. Fucking is. Bro, just fold it. Bro, fold it and send his shield to the Shadow Realm. I don't see it. Thank you for the 20 gold. Oh, yeah. Money. Nice. Nice. Items. Alright, I can get out of here. They're fast. These spells are, like, fast. Wait a minute. Oh. Freeze! Bitch. Over for him to get up. You can get his shit. Money. I heard you like pissing. Oh, that's... yeah, that stuff is gone. Again. Money. Yeah? Yeah, that stuff is gone. Right? Hold on. Oh, yeah. Hell gone. I love it when the shit gets clipped out of bounds. It's just funny. Genuinely, it's just funny. What, did I get this chest? I did not get this chest. What? Hmm? Oh. Oh. Hmm. Flashbang.
I see you. Hello.
Yes? I am yours to command.
I'm sorry, most honorable listener, but I've already... This is... Under your leadership, the Black...
Welcome.
Yahoo!
Tidings, citizen.
You look at that normal jump. Whee! Now. Oh, Jesus. Hello. What's up here? Oh, like no. Do not push that axe. Why are you jumping like Mario? Explanation. Crouch, jump, or uncrouch. Crouch, jump, uncrouch. That's... Is it like normal jump? So if I crouch, jump, and uncrouch, it looks like I'm, like, long jumping. Anyway, hi, Ogre. Fuck you. 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 Yeah, Game Engine Gober. Reminder, Bon, I think this game's older than you are. Imagine getting killed by a horse. You okay? He'll be fine. I want to kill people with this funny spell. They're so funny. Die. Bro was just standing up. And dead. I think I can get like a shot in with a Daedric bow and then boom. What the fuck? Right, now do this. And do this. Oh, that bow, the bow she carried is gone. The bow he carried is not. Unfortunately for me. Oh my back! before. I thought that was a skeleton, not just a pile of bones. I remember doing this area. Dog dies. This he was quick and painless.